Hello, this is Prophet 6, Family Prophet, to the angel of the church, to the Laodiceans. God bless you. I was just having devotion with one of my children, and we are reading. If you've been following, we've been reading Desire of Ages, and so I'm going to name these videos so you can be able to differentiate them from the rest of the videos. I'm going to call them devotional, and then it'll say Desire of Ages. And so this is going to be a short video, but it's really interesting compared to my other videos. But it's really interesting. We're on chapter 19, and we're on the chapter that's called At Jacob's Well. Really interesting. Jesus meets the woman at Jacob's Well, and this was like a rule that wasn't supposed to be broken. And the rule was dealing with the Samaritans. And according to the author of this book, they were only to deal with the Samaritans out of necessity. But they were to basically diminish whatever opportunity they had to come in contact with the Samaritans was to be discouraged. And it's really interesting because Samaritans were, I'm going to give you what I see in the prophetic, okay? This word of knowledge. The Samaritans were like an offshoot denomination, so to speak. And because of that, they were looked upon in many respects as being more vile and vile than it seemed like the heathen. I mean, they would go out of their way not to even go through Samaria. And so they were really, two contentious groups of people towards each other. So Jesus, what he does is he breaks this rule, spoken and unspoken rule, of dealing with the Samaritan, and he, sends his disciples to go get food. And there's this woman, a Samaritan. Now, this is very taboo because here's a woman in the Middle Eastern tradition and living under the Middle Eastern tradition, and Jesus is with her by himself, having conversation with her. And so it's really interesting how he breaks this, taboo by asking her for water. And while asking him for water, there's this undercurrent of an interview. And he's basically giving her a revelation seminar. Now, what am I saying here? If Jesus was here today, this would be comparable to I would say this would be comparable to like a Seventh-day Adventist and a Catholic. Okay. Now, I know that you always hear me say that all these religions are basically the same. And I can even show that in this devotional. All of them was basically saying. But they were in the same in the regard of as two groups of people. They were not worshiping God in spirit and truth. Even though Jesus told this Samaritan woman that in Mount Gerizim is where God's people should really worship. And Jesus took up that controversy. Yeah, in Mount Gerizim, Samaritans said that's where you should worship. And the Jews say you should worship in Jerusalem only. But Jesus said salvation is of the Jews. But God, ooh, I love this part right here, is looking for those that worship him in spirit and in truth. Now, so you have three places here. You can worship God in Mount Gerizim. You can worship him in Jerusalem and still not be worshiping God in spirit and in truth. Ooh, now that was a place. That was a place that the Jews nor the Samaritans were worshiping in. Isn't that beautiful? Isn't that beautiful? Jesus, I just love the mind of God, the thinking of God. I love it. Salvation is of the Jews. It is. It is of the nation of Israel, so to speak. But neither one of you all are worshiping me in the right place. Oh, I love God. I mean, look at the genius. Now, Jesus identifies himself with the Jews. But then he says they're not even worshiping it in the right place, which is in spirit and truth. Hey, baby, how you doing? Good morning. Mm-hmm. How was your rest? Good, good, good. God bless you. But I just love the way that God thinks. Adventists will say this about the Catholics. Catholics will say this about the Adventists. Catholics are going to say undoubtedly that, the Catholic Church is the real church. And undoubtedly, the Adventists are going to say this is the true church. But God is sitting back on his throne and saying, boy, I'd be glad when both of y'all worship me in the right place, which is in spirit and in truth. Wow. Now, I believe that God would say that Laodicea, salvation is of Laodicea for this time that we're living in, you and I are living in right now. Why? Why do I say that? Because Laodicea is the only church that's identified in the Bible for today. And the only group of people on the face of the earth that are identified as Laodicea, the most wretched, the most miserable, the most poor, the most blind, and most naked denomination on earth is Laodicea. And God is saying, yeah, salvation is of those people. And I know that sounds crazy to y'all. But people, just look at the Jews that were in Jesus' day. They were the ancient Laodiceans. And Jesus said salvation is of them. And another thing that I saw in this devotional that I found really intriguing. The Messiah comes to the place that Jews argue is the place where you only worship, but they so hateful and satanic, they don't even go tell Samaritans, who are their nearest neighbors, that the Messiah is here. And he's God on earth. They don't even go do that. That proves that they're not worshiping God in spirit and truth. And it amazes me that Seventh-day Adventists and the angel of the Adventist church is we're not learning anything from this book. When I first started reading this book and uploading videos, I said, I don't believe that Laodiceans even read this book. And if they're reading this book, they're not reading it in spirit and in truth. They're reading it with an academic mindset, but not in spirit and truth. That's why people can just read through the Bible. Oh, I read the Bible. I knew a person who said they read the Bible 100 times. This was the most ignorant person I probably ever met. And I asked them to sum up the Bible. Okay, well, sum up the Bible then. Since you read it 100 times, sum it up. They could not sum up the Bible. And I said, how about seek ye first the kingdom of God? Seek first the kingdom of God. Love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, with all thy soul, with all thy mind, with all thy strength. And the second is like unto love thy neighbor as thyself. I mean, come on, sum it up. You might say something different from me, but whatever you say should be able to converge. Whatever we say should be able to converge. There should be some convergence in the thought and in the idea of how to sum up the Bible. Couldn't do it. I'm like, wow. So the more you read the Bible, the more confused you get. You need to stop reading the Bible. You need to be converted. Whenever you have a person that's unconverted that studies the Bible, basically what you have is the work of Satan going on. And when I say that, I'm saying it in the context of a pastor or a Christian or an officer of the church. They really need to stop reading the Bible. They need to be converted. That's like Satan studying the Bible every day. Satan studying the Bible every day. And he gets worse and worse and further and hates God more and more. And is more ignorant of the character of God and maligns the character of God in his deportment, in his character, in his goal for living. So what I'm saying here is this, people. If Jesus was here today, first of all, if Jesus came to Laodicea today, like Ellen G. White, one of the deceased prophet of the Seventh-day Adventist Church, said when she was living, or penned when she was living, if he was alive today, they would hate him more than the Jews did. That's how we know Laodicea is wretched. It's gone bye-bye. It's no hope for the angel. When I say angel, I mean leadership of the church. That's what the angel means. If you go to Revelation 1:20, the seven stars are the angels or leadership of the seven churches. When you go to Revelation chapter 1, verse 3-4, John writes a letter to the angel of the church. You can see that very clearly in Revelation chapter 2, verse 1 and 2. So the letters that he writes, he gives it to the angel of the church, not an angel of heaven, like many of these Bible commentaries have in a wrong way interpreted. But people, remember this, y'all. Study the Bible, y'all. Be converted. This is Prophet 6, Family Prophet to the Angel of the Church to the Laodicean. I hope this has been a blessing to you. Have a blessed day. Bye-bye.